Hello, welcome to the fifth chapter of our d6 against everything setup. In this one we are continuing after the Black Lion, looking at Philidor setup. So e4 d6, of course we go d6 against everything, d4, yeah, knights out, typical stuff. We will be looking at mainly knight bd7 here, but I wanted to introduce you that we can play e5 here also. This is so-called, it can transpose to Philidor endgame, yeah, the so-called Tame Lion variation or just the Lion variation. The downside of this move is that white, instead of going at knight f3, they can decide to exchange our queens. So some black players might like this, some might don't like this, so it depends on your taste, yeah, if you like endgames. So basically here we are kind of getting into queenless middle game already and closer to the endgame. So, but it's perfectly playable variation, and also we kind of avoid by not moving the knight dangerous lines like g4 and so on, like f4. So this e5 is a nice alternative to have, but just optional move. You can just purely play with knight bd7 as well. So let's see this e5 alternative. Yeah, so first thing, yeah, white takes, of course. If they play something else, we transpose. Yeah, if they play knight f3, we go back into our setup. So they exchange the queens, and now they have many moves, but I chose the four main ones. So first, let's see if they play just like normally, yeah, like knight f3, but this is not dangerous. Here is how black executes his typical piece setup here. So we go bishop d6, that's the place for the bishop in this line. Usually, let's say white just keeps on developing, yeah, they want to long castle perhaps. We put the bishop on e6, now that the white bishop took the knight place, yeah, so they cannot move here. Castle's long, and the other knight goes here. Usually the king in these setups, now of course we cannot play c6, but c6, king c7, we usually try to hide here. If that's not available, sometimes king goes to c8 or e7. So we might seem like have a problem with the king, yeah, here, but king is getting out usually because there are no queens. King is a bit unsafe, but he gets out of the danger usually in all lines. So okay, so what can white play here? Well, if they go after our bishop, we're not worried, yeah, this bishop is not so great. So now the king goes to e7, and let's see what could happen here. Actually, black is already, I think, more than fine here. And the king is nice and safe here. We protect all the pawns. We got rid of the bad bishop, so black is all right. Knight b5 not dangerous. If they try to kind of double the pawns here, we could maybe even take with the knight, I think. But here is just an illustration how we get out of this these pins and so on, and we can do this sort of thing. Yeah, many moves are possible here. So knight f3 is not a dangerous move. We just develop normally, yeah, everything. Pieces, bishop is this one out here, the other bishop here, knight bd7, and then take care of your king. So other move could be f4, kind of going a bit aggressive. Here there are also many moves for black, like you can play knight c6 as well, but I like this line, bishop b4, trying already to take the pawn. So they defend, now we take, they bring their bishop out, but we see how pieces fly into the game very naturally. And for example, this variation, yeah, we can even exchange. King again goes to e7, and we're fine. So f4, you can improvise more, even can play differently. What else? Main move is bishop c4. That's the best move for white because they're attacking f7, but and they're taking this diagonal, yeah, from us. So they're trying to take it, as we'll see. So, but very popular move is this bishop g5, intending quick long castles. Let's check. Yeah. So, what do we play here? We take this diagonal. This diagonal is important, not letting white put the bishop here. And now, of course, white would go for long castle. What else can they play? If knight f3, this is kind of similar to what we've seen already. It's not worrying us. Knight d7, long castles. They're trying to put some pin on us. Yeah, they want to go knight e5. h6 we could go. Also, I think bishop d6 is just also fine. If they take here, we always recapture here. Don't worry about these double pawns. They are very limiting the knight, and we have bishop pair, so usually they come back here. And now another type of king solving this king problem move, king c8, and we can put the bishop again here. And later we're gonna unravel here. Yeah, play probably a6, b5 intending. Yeah, and king will get out, and we'll connect the rook. So it's all right. So knight f3 not worrying. Maybe f4 is a more dangerous move, but here we can take it. If e5, we always have this typical h6 counter, yeah, and if they go here g5, we're fine. If they go knight f3, king again finds safety on c8 this time, and we can do again this quick development, bring the pieces out, something like h6, and again we're doing fine with black. What about long castle? That's their main idea. So here we have to cover with the knight, and now their most principal move is f4, played in many games. That's the key move. But let's check other ideas. Let's say g3. What can we do? It's a kind of slow move, maybe intending some bishop exchange or support f4, but we can kick this bishop or force him to take. We take back with doubling the pawns, but don't worry, again we took the bishop pair, so they're trying to push this f pawn. We save the bishop, of course. Rook d2. Now we can exchange. Active development, dynamic play with black. Probably next idea is play c6 and put the king here, I would guess. Yeah, take the squares from the knight, and we have for our double pawns, they are not easily attacked. Well, could be, yeah, maybe with the bishop c4, but can always just come back and exchange and straighten our pawn structure. But we have dynamic play for these double pawns here. So g3 is kind of slow. Knight f3, yeah, again, yeah, many iterations of this move. So you can again just hide the king, yeah, since they want to take here. Bishop d6, I would guess, also not a bad move, yeah, and play like basically transposing to what we've seen. But king c8 you can also play, and now they can maybe try relocate the bishop here, but then we challenge them with active play. We can double the pawns, they can double our pawns, and in the end we win the pawn. Maybe they'll win it back with active play, but it's already a kind of messy game. So maybe they can take immediately, but again with active play we can again, you see c6, and our king is getting safe. Here white can be even fancy, yeah, smart, because if we take, they take back and wins the piece, because this bishop will have nowhere to go. But we can also do tactics of our own. So f5 is a nice move to kind of threaten to take at some moment. Yeah, we can threaten to take here and then take the knight. So we're doing fine. So the most challenging probably is f4, key move. So we take it, and there white is trying with fast development to gain some initiative. But yeah, since queens are off the board, the only problem we actually have to solve is this king in the middle. So we go h6. Now if they take here, again we take back, and I think black is even slightly better, because not clear how they're winning their pawn back. So they better take back with the bishop here. And then we do our typical c6 move, and maybe this is the way for white to try to gain something, but again we do our typical king placement, this time on e7, and should be doing fine here. Even black kind of controls the dark squares, so f4, maybe white could have played better, like knight g2 here. E5 doesn't work because we do this typical thing again. So yeah, maybe knight g2, let's say, or knight f3. Yeah, knight f3 we covered, so knight g2, let's see. Maybe knight coming in this way, yeah, maybe trying to develop like this, but black has his own counter chances as well. So yeah, the only problem to solve is this king. So let's come back to the main move, bishop c4. That causes the most troubles. I think this is why it's best to try to gain for a small edge. And now there is king e8 move. This is an alternative, but I like more the old school bishop e6, kind of accepting double pawns. But you see, these double pawns, they are central ones, and they control lots of squares around them. So, and they're not easy to attack now that the bishops are gone. So this is like old way of playing, but it's perfectly practical, like for under 2000 online. So of course, if white knows the plan, I'll show you the plan next. Yeah, this is starting with f3. They might gain slight edge, but it's nothing serious. So bishop e3, how we set up the pieces, yeah, against simple moves like that, we set up this way. King goes to e7, and bishop to d6, king d7, and we go for a6, trying to expand on the queen side. Maybe knight goes here, maybe on c6, and we're trying to outplay opponent this way. So that's our main piece setup. Yeah, remember, bishop on d6, king on e7 in this line. When double pawns, because king is giving additional defense for this e6 pawn, bishop defense here, and we can bring the knight as well. And we generally want to expand next. If the white tries to play h4, maybe trying to expand themselves, yeah, with on the king side, we can stop them, very important, with g6, and now knight controls h5, and we can block their expansion this way. So, but if white knows the main plan, they might gain a slight advantage. So how do they do that? They have to know, and on this level I doubt anyone would know, they have to put the knight on f2, going to d3 to kind of put some pressure on e5. So, but we do our same setup, yeah, knights here, bishop here, king will be going to e7 anyway, bishop e3, a6, of course they try to stop it, and that's how basically engines say white has slight advantage, because mainly of double pawns, and they try to expand also on the both sides of the board. We're trying with this move to play g5, but maybe white can stop us, and the game continues. Yeah, white has slight advantage. So unless opponent knows this plan, you might want to play this e5. Try for this Philidor endgame, okay? And now let's go to the main Philidor setup with knight bd7. So in this Philidor endgame, we already looked in last chapter the black line setup. Usually after bishop c4, here we go, we can switch, but first let's check this bishop e2. It will be played, I think, many times against you. It's a bit a passive move, yeah, better placement for this bishop is on c4, but let's quickly check how do we play against that. Basically, we do our setup no matter what, so even against such passive moves, our setup doesn't change. So c6, we can start with c6 or castle first. It's your choice, yeah, again, and a4 castles, h3, let's say. White can play in many different ways, many different moves, orders, but our most kind of typical moves, we do it in stages. Yeah, knights out, then center, bishop out, castles, second stage, and the third stage was c6, queen c7. And then we follow basically two middle game plans. Well, let's see some moves for white. Well, they could play I don't know, rook e1. One of the plans for black is this b6, a6, rook b8, b5 idea. So for example here, black is kind of mixing up a bit, but yeah, they got this structure. This structure is kind of fine. It reminds me of Najdorf, but mainly black's plan is slow queenside expansion. Let's see another move. Rook e8, maybe again they try for this d5, but it doesn't. If we can take back with the piece, if white doesn't manage to take back with the piece, somehow we're doing fine. Yeah, if they take with the pawn, it kind of switches to the Najdorf structure. Here we can even put the knight on c5 because it's controlling e4. And what else can they go? Let's say bishop e3. Again, we could go for this b6 idea. Maybe some moves, but I don't know. Black is doing fine here. Yeah, knight h4 somewhere can be. Also, we have to look out for some tactics. Maybe we can answer it. Even this move, knight f5, and you see, we defend tactically. Yeah, this bishop and the knight as well. So sometimes this knight h4 we have to look out if they work or not for this tactic knight e4. So basically against bishop e2 setup you can play normal stuff and with two plans. One is queenside expansion, one is just put the rook here and kind of relocate the knight. Another would be a very nice plan. So bishop e2 is not dangerous, can improvise even. So the main of course move is bishop c4, and after castles, last chapter we checked, yeah, when we delay the castle it's black line setup, c6 first, but here we go into just normal Philidor. So castles, solid, black castled as well, and our next move is c6 most of the time, yeah, like 99% of the time. So okay, white has many different moves here, many setups, but I cannot like analyze them all because this video will be many hours long. So I'll just mention the most popular ones, and then you can do your further investigation. But I think this video will be more than enough for under 2000 online, so you don't need to have such deep theory understanding to play this. So queen e2 is kind of exception move, yeah. Queen moved out from the d file, so we can do this ed. Maybe first time we see this. Usually we don't want to capture here on d4 first. That's kind of giving away the center, but here it's concrete because we jump with the knight on e5, and this bishop has to retreat to b3 then. And we continue with active play. That's why this ed works. So now knight is kind of kicked back, because where does he go? Yeah, if he goes to f3, we can pin him. Or if he goes to b5, we can just misplace him. So that's why he has to kind of go to f5. That's why it's concrete play for black. And we go into this long line. Here we even have some sacrifice, a d5, and we advance in the center like this. You can check more in the attached Licha study. Yeah, I'll just mention until here that this leads to good play for black. We're down a piece, but king is exposed, and we're moving these central pawns down the board. So very sharp line. If somebody plays this against you, might check out more what happens there. Do your own more analysis. Yeah, if somebody plays this system against you, but most of the time they don't go queen e2. They can play also a4 early on, recommended in many books, but this most likely will just transpose into next line. So we will go c6 anyway. So this move is needed anyway for white to stop our b5 advance. So it will transpose. So now we're going into the main move, rook e1. And of course, we do our third stage, c6. So white has to stop it, as we've seen from previous chapters. If they don't stop us, black already gets good play. So, and now there's this crossroads here. We can go for the main Philidor move, which will be a5, according to theory, and many courses like analyze this move. Or we could go for a rare setup with h6. It's kind of, I would say black line related. It's called the Bologan setup. Grandmaster Bologan kind of played this way, used to play. So, and so let's first check this a5 move. It's considered main by theory. What are white's main tries? So white maybe h3 is the main move. What if they go let's say d5? Yeah, this is kind of battering ram usually. Why we stopped with a5? White's main plan usually against Philidor is to play a5, then push d5, and then a6, kind of trying to break this all structure apart. So that's why when we stop a5, they still continue with their maybe d5 battering ram plan, but it doesn't quite work. Here we again can switch to this nice kind of Najdorf structure. We can take on d5 everything. White is trying to take back with the piece, the queen this time, because if they take with the pawn, I don't think they have anything. We can like just start some kingside attack. Of course, they have majority on the queen side. They will try to push there, but black is already having 2 bishops, so it's fine. So they would take with the queen, and then we can even sacrifice this pawn if we want, but why risk it? I think this is just good play for black, like typical Najdorf Sicilian. Yeah? We have a semi-open c-line. So this d5 doesn't quite work here. b3 is kind of typical move to intending bishop b2. But here we can, with Philidor, we always have to watch out, especially if we play a5, we always have to watch out when we can play this ed move. So here it's a perfect time to do it. And then we can, we attack this bishop. It has to retreat here now that the b3 is played. And we can go for this setup. And I found this one recommended from the course Practical Philidor Fighting Repertoire from Chessable. So you can investigate. Yeah, I'm giving theory until here. You can investigate further. This is a complex play with black. This knight might get kicked later on, but it's also very risky to play f4 for white, so they have to time it. This knight has some retreat square, so we're not too worried. Of course, in the center we have kind of slight space disadvantage, but all our pieces are kind of finding squares, so we're doing, it's a complex game. Maybe white has slight advantage, but so b3 system. But now let's switch to h3. What are we doing here with black? So our plan is rook e8. Rook e8. Now that we stop their queenside play, we go for this kingside piece kind of improvement plan, I would say. And white has many moves. If they go with the knight here attacking this guy, we can just go back and kick the knight out. If they go knight h4, white himself has to worry about this knight e4 all the time. Here it doesn't work at the moment, but actually after this move it does work. So they always have to be careful about moving this knight h4, so we don't have knight takes e4. If white plays bishop a2, then we can go, their plan is queen e2, sneaky queen c4 to attack f7. We can go for this h6 move, preventing, and they take here. We can take it back, and again, if knight tries to jump into f5, we can move our own knight, similar like in Black Lion. And we can exchange like this, simplify the position. They try to take f5, but we have this move, exchanging the active knight, so black should be fine here as well. So we come back to the probably main move, bishop e3. And we continue. We need this move. So you see this rook e8. Maybe we can change it with h6, but h6 we play next when we need it, actually, to prevent this knight g5 for some moves. So here again, they would probably play queen d2, just developing. So what about knight h4? Again, this typical jump to f5. Again, we can take on d4 at the right moment. And here we can even exchange the bishops and go into this sort of, when we saw from Philidor endgame, these double pawns, can go into this type of setup. Black is doing fine because the central double pawns, they control lots of squares. and they cannot be attacked easily, so black is fine here according to engine as well. So h6, they would probably play queen d2. And now I like this plan, not knight f8, yeah. Knight f8 we cannot do, pawn is hanging, so we would first need queen c7, but maybe that could be even tried out, yeah. But I like this plan, bishop f8. Now we want to take at d4 at the right moment, open our rook. This bishop, he might find some squares, yeah, later g6, bishop g7 even. But we just open our rook, and we want to take on d4, and knight will jump on c5. So, for example, takes. Now, knight d4 is risky because they lose a pawn. So they most likely will capture back with the bishop. And we play typical moves. Yeah, now they wanted to jump on f5, so we don't let them. We always open the bishop if they try to jump here, attacking this bishop as well. And here is a kind of sharp move. Maybe black can play differently, yeah, not so aggressively, but wanted to. They are kind of playing in forceful way, forcing this knight here to take it and play bishop g7, kind of bringing this defender, as I talked, yeah, to the king side. So white is objectively, I would say, slightly better maybe, but it's still a fighting game, yeah. I doubt I doubt anyone would know until here with white. So now I'll show you another move. Instead of a5, we can go with this h6. Second plan is h6, allowing white to play a5. So this is like more black line related. We'll focus more on this plan, rook e8 and knight bringing to g6. So let's see how white plays this. Main move is h3. But let's say they try this bishop e2 sneaky move again to kind of come in with the queen. Idea, we go here, and the moment they go queen e2, we as we've seen from previous examples, we often take on d4. And here we can even play d5 because queen is on the e line exposed, so we can sack this way. And white has to be careful not to lose something here. Yeah, they probably have to sack back the piece and win it back like this. Something like crazy lines like this. But okay, after all this we're down a pawn, but probably we're gonna win it back with activity. Black is very active here. So this bishop a2, just remember, yeah, whenever they move the queen, we often have this option to take on d4. So what about b3 setup? Here we can do our knight remaneuvering idea. So we go queen c7 first to relieve this knight of its duties, yeah, guarding e5. So now the queen supports e5, and now this knight can, similar way as white plays in Italian, yeah, he jumped here, he goes on f8, and he does this typical maneuver to relocate on the king side. So I think black is fine. Next, when we've done this plan, we might think at some moment to even jump on f4. And the other plan could be slowly expand on the queen side. Yeah, we have these two middle game plans in the Philidor. So, okay, so they could also maybe try knight h4, but here it's risky. This knight is often vulnerable for some tactics, so this might happen. And we expand in the center, and here we can even win something with this like crazy sacks and so on. Yeah, this ed is coming, bishop e3, we'll have huge attack, queen will come on h2 probably. Yeah, let's see. Now they cannot even take back as they're losing the queen, and bishop e3 and queen h2 are coming, so white will probably get lost here. So yeah, this knight of fate maneuver. So yeah, instead of b3, let's check their main move, h3, and we continue our setup. First we play rook e8, then we'll go queen c7 most likely, and this knight maneuver we want to do. So if white takes on d5, we're ready for it. Usually white follows up with this capture with knight h4, but here we can just meet it with knight c5. Yeah, we're gonna take anyway the knight if it comes to f5, so not worrying. b3 again they can play. Well, we follow our plan then. knight maneuvers, knight goes to g6, and now we can even expand next plan, yeah? a6, a6 we can go because white no longer has this a5 move, yeah? The rook moved here, so they don't longer have this fixing move a5. So we can even accelerate our plan, and let's say b5. And we're doing fine if they go bishop f1, again b5. Some games were played here, and black is doing great. So let's see their main move. Actually, also if they go d5, this is not working. We get similar structures like we've previously seen, like in a Najdorf, yeah? This is a good way to counter, and then we're gonna take at some moment on d5. So the main move causing trouble in this line is this a5. That's the best move in my opinion for white. White is gaining space, and they are trying to coordinate with this d5 and a6 typical plan against Philidor. So stronger players will definitely know this. So that's why you may be considering to play here a5, yeah? If you're playing against stronger guys, so maybe you want to stop this a5 move. So a5, and here we have two moves. One of them is quite good actually. I like this one. I've seen this from modern chess course. It's bishop f8 suddenly. We don't put the knight here, but we put the bishop. And what's our next plan? Our next plan is to capture on d4. So here white just develops. Yeah, they're following their typical plan. They will want to go d5 and a6 next. So we kind of get ahead of that and take on d4. And now there's this very nice, interesting move, b5 anyway. Because black is accepting these structural weaknesses a bit, but it's not so clear how actually black will get attacked on a7, for example. And white can basically black can play this position. Got a bit weakened structure, but for white it's not so easy to attack a7, for example. Like maybe we're gonna play a5 at some moment even. So this is acceptable position even according to engine. So bishop f8, interesting kind of Jabava move from modern chess course. And the other kind of standard move would be queen c7, intending still our plan. But here white will actually, if they know theory, they will get some advantage, but not with d5 move. d5 is a bit too early. Here we can still play b5. Kind of similar way, but taking with a knight, of course. We cannot take with a pawn. And we're hitting this d5 square. And now a5. Black is fine. We have a weakened pawn on a5, but it's not easy to attack, and we got good structure now, like a typical Najdorf structure again. So this basically d5 doesn't quite work. If they play a6, then of course we have always b5 move. If they first haven't played d5, so this doesn't work. So queen c7, bishop e3, knight f8. Well, actually d5, knight g6. Yeah, so first they have to play d5 move. And since we moved already knight f8, we don't have this b5 anymore. So here white gains slight advantage, I would say. They retreat the bishop first. The next move is a6 probably. They're intending a6, so we can play something like this. And here engine gives white slight advantage. But I think only very strong players would know this. These all moves, yeah, you can definitely at lower levels risk it. And just know these two plans for black, yeah, like developing the knight, typical way, or even sometimes moving the bishop here. And another plan, if they didn't go a5, just go for this queenside expansion. So that's, I think, like you don't have to remember concrete moves. What I explained in the video, you can always check Leach's study. It contains more moves than what I explained, but you can, if knowing these two plans, you can definitely just play the games, gain experience in this Philidor setup, and start winning games. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.